Hey everyone, I'm very sorry it's been so long since I've had an upload, and I'm sorry this is a short one. I've been trying really hard to take care of a few things, but I'm working on getting more recorded for you. I woke up at 5 in the morning today to record this one for you, and I have one other, but I just feel like it wasn't quite up to the standards I want for my videos for you guys. So I'm going to re-record that one in the morning, and probably have another video for you tomorrow. So that will be awesome. But I'm going to try really hard to be better at getting you guys more videos. I know I put some things on the back burner while working on the audiobook, and I am very sorry for that. I didn't mean to do that to my channel. I don't want anything to take a priority over my channel because, you guys are why I do what I do. And I want to keep making videos that you guys like and creating that awesome spooky content. And I'm sorry I'm rambling because I'm awkward, as usual. That's how these usually go. So anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. If you're new, maybe subscribe. I'm almost to 2,000, and I think that'd be a really super awesome way to officially start spooky season. So you guys have a super great night. Be safe. And I hope you enjoy this story. It is said to not judge a book by its cover, but to judge it by the contents that lay within. However, sometimes it's the physical contents within those books that provide the most wonderment. These contents tell a story from those who have handled the book prior. The receipt from a previous grocery visit that outlines the purchase of a head of cabbage, a bottle of aspirin, and a bottle of cheap red wine. Or the leaflet that calls for you to take action, urging who to vote for as secretary-treasurer in the next election cycle. A report card that shows Timmy is struggling in arithmetics. Or a blank check that is addressed to a person thousands of miles away for a bank that no longer exists. It was my fascination with these markers that led me down the path that I find myself on to this day. The history of the bookmark. It tells a lot about the person who is reading. A dog ear left on the page to an extravagantly embroidered piece that clips to the paper. They all speak to the reader and their sensibilities, more than the book and the story often does. Through my research, I happened to stumble upon a story of the death of a woman in Tennessee over 30 years ago. It wasn't her death that I found peculiar, but her obsession with books and her equally impressive collection of bookmarks. She had owned a consignment shop that specialized in the dealings of antiques, which had doubled as a used bookstore. The business had thrived well before the internet, and she was thought of as a local celebrity due to her uncanny ability to make anything she sold seem as one of a kind. When you entered her shop, she would greet you with a large smile and with a husky voice usher you to all the treasures at her disposal. Inevitably, you would make a purchase whether you went looking for a particular product or you simply were wanting to pursue the many aisles of goods. It came as a shock that on an early morning visit, one of her daily customers walked into her quaint store to find her hanging from the ceiling by an electrical cord wrapped around her neck. No foul play was suspected, but curiously, a book laid under her dangling feet that bared no words and housed a simple brown leather bookmark. Through the news articles at my disposal, I was able to find the listing of her estate sale, and amongst these clippings, a line in regards to the books of her store being donated to a local high school. After shuffling through several years of newspaper printings, I finally stumbled upon another article that further raised my suspicions. In the library of that school, 5 years later, a young lady who was thought to be the next valedictorian and was known for her love of literature was found in the classics sections on her back with a spiral notebook shoved into her mouth and down her throat. The coroner ruled her death to be of accidental asphyxiation, though the markings on her hands pointed towards a hammering of the notebook down her own gullet, something that appeared to be anything but accidental. Again, while the death was not peculiar to me, amongst spiral notebook deaths, that is, it was what laid beside the potential future valedictorian that was truly of note. Beside her was a blank book and a brown leather bookmark. This time, the article did refer to a symbol stamped into the middle of a marker, which described it as an irregular cross shape with a horizontal line ending in an arrow and the vertical line fish-hooked at the ends. This certainly changed my mindset from simple curiosity into what I may call sheer obsession. Unfortunately, I have yet to trace this bookmark to any further deaths since some 25 years ago. It was as if the bookmark simply vanished. Perhaps it lay in a landfill or in a box that sits in an attic long forgotten. I have the tendency to dismiss this idea, though, since I have been able to find that location of this marker in the present day. I have been able to trace what I believe to be its origins, and its origins speak to an evil that does not rest. Not being a scholar of symbolism, my first step into further research led me to the Masonry, which has been long known to deal with ritual and symbolism alike. Quickly, I was able to decipher a list of symbols used in what the Masons like to call the Chamber of Reflection. In this darkened room, a series of symbols is transcribed on the walls, and through meditation, the Mason is able to reflect on the order that he is to join. A large portion of these symbols are in regards to alchemy, a proto-science tradition started in the early century of the first millennia, and that is where my first breakthrough began. Before me was the alchemist symbol, to rot, perfectly described the way it was for the article of the ill-fated valedictorian. Upon further reading, the Masons believed that this symbol, when used with malice intent, would not only rot the mind of those who gazed on it, but it would consume the meaning of everything it touched. They coined this symbol as the marker of death. In further exploring the marker of death, I came to find that up until 1895, the phrase encapsulated the symbol itself, but upon finding the symbol on a brown leather bookmark in the middle of a 2-act play whose pages were blank, and the Mason who clutched the book awfully dead, the term was then associated with the bookmark itself. The text that I could find would not name the play where the marker was found, but it was described as being a first act of banality and a second act of insanity. My research continued. The symbol appeared infrequently during the previous centuries, as far as I can tell, and the marker of death didn't bear mention in any of the texts that I had incessantly pored over. I was worried that my research was all in vain, until I read the name of Al-Zarid in a manuscript translated in the 13th century. Al-Zarid, an Arab man from Damascus, was said to have written Al-Azif before his death in mid-8th century. Within his work was a marker described as being made of pressed parchment, which displayed the symbol Pulthin. This is where I believe the marker of death originates from. The word python was a serpent in Greek mythology, derived from the word Pulthin. Pytho, the original name of Delphi, was the location of Pythia, the high priestess of the temple of Apollo, her most common title being the Oracle of Delphi. Pythia was known for her frenzied mouth utterings, a sibyl who spoke directly from God through the fumes and vapors of hallucinogenic gases. She spoke of the apocalypse of man, of a beast who would burst from Delphi and feast on the decomposing world, eating its knowledge and ruling over a barren land. It is written that she was taken from the temple while under siege from Germanic tribes, tortured and mummified. She was exhumed hundreds of years later by pagans who still worshipped the prophecy. Her body pressed and reformed, shaped into the marker of death. It has now traveled hundreds of centuries, being placed into books and tablets of unimaginable evil and knowledge. It has fed on every page it has been placed upon, and for the unlucky souls who fall into its evil possession, they are given something much worse than death. Their very soul is infected with rot, leading to mania and the undoing of their mind. I'm still searching for the marker of death, even though I know it will cause me a great sacrifice. Its evil knows no bounds, and if fallen into the wrong hands, will plunge the earth into prophetic apocalypse I've read about. God save my soul.